I'm Bob Radank, and I'm the mission director here at First Christian Church, and I am with Paul and Debbie Pinckleys, who are our missionaries to Portugal, and we are going to have a coffee convo, a missionary coffee convo. Right. So, for those of you who may not know what a coffee convo is, and if you're new to all this, every 2 weeks, our lead pastor, Scott Wakefield, does a coffee convo or a conversation with someone in our church or someone who's connected to the community here in Greene County. And if you know our pastor, if you know the staff here, they love their coffee. And I'm one of the newest staff members here at First Christian Church. And somehow I made the cut because I don't like coffee. I don't drink coffee. So we're having a little twist here on Coffee Convos. Not only are we having a missionary for the very first time that we get to interview, but there's not one drop of coffee in this cup. So we're going to have a fun time tonight. And Paul, Debbie, what are you all drinking there?
Well, due to the time of day in Portugal, we're having decaf.
Ah, what time is it there in Portugal?
It is almost 9.
Almost
about 8:45.
All right. Now,
so we're about five hours ahead.
5 hours, yes. Now, I know that Portugal and Spain are totally two different cultures, but I know in that area, a lot of times when it gets night out, and that's when the life really starts to come out. Is that the same way? That's how it is in Spain. I've been there before, but is that the same in Portugal? Do people start get active at night and having fun?
Yes.
Yeah, it's rare for us to eat out at night. Usually if we're going to eat out, we eat out at lunch because we eat dinner at the time God intended.
Right.
5:30, 6:30 maybe. And most of the restaurants here close in the afternoon from lunch until around 7:30. And if you go at 7, you're going to be the only ones there. I mean, it's at 9 when everything comes alive and all the, families, everybody comes out to eat, especially, back in November, July, August, and September, when we had the tourists there, that they were busy and all through the day, and they ate late just like the locals. So
was that something that was hard for you guys to get used to, or you guys pretty acclimated to that different culture?
The crowds of people or the late eating?
The late eating.
Oh no, I mean, typically we just don't. I mean, we have, there's some friends we'll go out with. Actually, our closest friends are Americans as well. So, we're eating and back home and probably in bed by the time a lot of people are going out to eat. So
sometimes you can hear the night music playing and people laughing and carrying on, but that's rare.
It's not, it's not difficult to roll over and go to sleep. So it's, no.
Well, we have a lot of new folks who have been attending First Christian Church here, and it's exciting to see what God's doing in our church. But there's a lot of people that have not been introduced to our missionaries, and so that's why we thought we would have these missionary coffee convos. And really appreciate you guys taking the time. I know it's getting late there, and but it's awesome that you guys are willing to come and talk with us. And so share with us some things about yourselves. Tell us where you're from here in the States, for those who are not familiar with you. And tell us some things about your family. You got kids, and tell us something about your childhood, whatever comes to your mind. Let us get to know the Pinckleys a little bit.
Well, we can start out by sharing our children, because we do love them. and our grandbabies. Our oldest son is Paul, and he's married and has 3 babies and living in Atlanta, Georgia. And our youngest son is Matthew, and he's just recently moved to Portugal. He had been living in Vietnam, teaching English for about 2.5 years. And then COVID happened, and things were going from bad to worse in the the lockdowns and his job situation. And so he decided to come to Portugal before he goes back to the U.S.
Okay.
So he's actually teaching. He got a job within 5 days of being here, and he's teaching English at an international school here in Tavira.
Great. That's great.
Yeah. So it's
He'll be heading back to the States midsummer
Yes.
after school's over.
Good.
So we're away from family, but at least we've got one here that we can hug on, and
Yes.
mama can baby a bit. And I mean, he's mid-30s, but she still finds a way to
Right.
baby him.
Right.
true.
It's ingrained in you as a mother, right? You have to. Right?
What else?
I grew up in Tennessee. I'm a Memphis boy. I know folks in Greenville question whether Memphis is part of the state or not, but I'm a native Tennessean. Lived in Tennessee one place or another most of my life. We spent a little time. I worked at a college in West Tennessee, and then we spent some time in California. Then we were in Cambodia. Then we were in Iowa, and then finally made it back to the motherland, and just on the other end of the state, but made it back to Tennessee. So that is definitely home for me.
For me, I grew up military. I was considered a military brat. And I really never understood why military was called military brats.
Yeah, what's up with that? I mean,
I don't know.
I grew up as a military brat too, but I didn't think I was a brat. And maybe you should ask my parents that. I don't know.
But anyway, we moved quite a lot. Probably during my schooling, we probably moved 9 or 10 times. So I think that's probably prepared me for marrying a globetrotter, and for Cambodia and also for Portugal, just knowing that I can adapt and adjust and go with it. So it's been a good life. I've enjoyed it. And we met.
But I've made her a Tennessean. She is she does count Tennessee as
There you go.
People ask her that, she says Tennessee. So
Since you're Tennesseans though, can I ask a serious question that everyone is probably asking? We didn't get this in our questions, but I know everyone's asking this. Are you a Tennessee Vols fan?
Well, yes.
All right, there we go.
All right.
That's a good answer.
Are you kidding me? I'm staying up till 4 a.m. on Sunday to watch ball games.
There you go. That's dedication right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, my son and I, it's been great to have him for ball season, but those 8:30 games, 8:30 p.m. games are killer, because that's 12:30 here.
Right.
No, the 7:30 games. Yeah, 7:30 games, or it's 12:30 here. So
the things you have to do
before
to be a true fan, the things you have to go through as a fan.
There you go. That's it exactly.
That's right. Well, luckily
this year it's been good to stay up for most of them. So
yeah,
that's been the good. Well, 6 out of 5. It's been worth staying up for.
There you go. Well, we don't want to get into all that. So
right.
So here's some quick questions, just off the top of your head. Which one of you are early or late? Who likes to be getting up early? Who likes to stay
early?
Both of you are early. Okay. Breakfast or dinner? Which one's your favorite?
Breakfast.
Breakfast. Paul?
I'm dinner.
Yeah.
Are we married?
Good. Who's the introvert? Who's the extrovert?
Extrovert.
Introvert.
Okay. All right. Now we're getting into it. Getting into the deep stuff here. Who's the thinker? Who's the feeler?
Feeler.
Thinker.
Okay. All right.
I have no feelings.
Now, this is going to be the test of the marriage. Who's the fighter? Who's the peacemaker? Where's that standing?
Peacemaker.
I mean, do we have to split this down the middle?
No,
do I
you
have
don't.
to
You
be
can
the fighter?
You can say peacemaker.
Yeah, I'm probably the fighter.
Okay. I love the honesty, Paul. Thanks, man. And this one here, this is who's silly, who's serious? Or are you both serious? Or are you both silly?
Maybe a little of both.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I don't know that I would, she's excitable,
Yes, yes.
but that's not the same as silly.
Silly.
And I apologize to all of you excitable people out there. That doesn't mean silly, I get it. But yeah, I think it's a mixture. It's a little bit of both.
That's good. That's good. Now, full disclosure, my wife and I have been through some of these questions. We were going to do a coffee convo when we first came on staff here, but then the internet broke. I don't know how that happened. It wasn't me, I promise. I didn't do any of it. But
It was
we
a
did ask
blessing.
these questions. We did these questions. I know how you feel about having to answer these questions. So tell us something about yourselves that maybe some folks may not know, some secret thing, not secret, but just some things that maybe people will be unexpected about you guys.
For me, I may have already said it, that I'm an introvert. Usually when that comes up and I say I'm an introvert, people laugh because they think I'm joking.
Yeah.
And I said, no, I mean, I've had jobs always where I had to be on and out there glad handing and high fiving and, so I'm not a recluse, but it wears me out.
I hear you.
I have to, I recharge by going and, sitting in a corner and just, vegging out on, a little bit of TV or just reading or something like that. So yeah, I mean, most people don't expect that when I say it, but I'm a good old introvert.
Cool. What about you, Debbie? What's something that we would be surprised about knowing from you?
Really, honestly, I can't think of anything that just. My parents think it's hysterical that I love that on Instagram I follow cows because I think they're adorable.
You follow cows, like the Chick-fil-A cow. Like, do you like that kind of cow or?
The Highland cows, they're adorable.
Yeah, there's a specific breed we're talking about here. She doesn't want
We
you
have
aimed
specific
at
breeds. I didn't know that.
jerseys.
We just took coffee convos to a whole new level, talking about breeds of cows. This is awesome. Yes.
Yeah.
I love it. No, I'm serious. It's kind of cool. It's cool. Highland cows. Let me write that down. Highland cows.
Right. That's right.
Cool. Well, on a serious note, though, more spiritual. Let's get to serious stuff. That's why we're having this, right? When you think back to the course of your childhood or maybe your whole life, who has been a significant part in your life who influenced you, spoke to you about Jesus? You guys
can you hear us?
Okay.
Okay. Mine is definitely, I went to the North Charleston Church of Christ as I was 12 years old. My family and I started going back to church when we moved to Charleston, South Carolina. And my youth minister was Ferris Austin. And he and his wife, Margie, they played a huge role in my becoming a Christian because we spent so much time with them. They were incredible people, and we were with them on most weekends and even sometimes through the weekday, just doing all kinds of things, volunteer, anything to, at church, and I just seeing their marriage and their interacting and how much they love Jesus. Definitely, it would be Ferris and Margie Austin.
That's cool. That's really awesome. Who's influenced you, Paul? I love hearing these stories of how God.
At various times in my life, I think there's, I grew up in a Christian home. Both sides of my family, my parents came from Christian homes, who came from Christian homes, who came from Christian homes to the ark. It's just kind of always been there. And so I mean, I think that I sort of say that's the easy answer, and I don't mean it that way, but that was something that was modeled to me my entire life, was that you're in church, and I have a mother that was teaching classes, and just you were there and you were involved, you were expected to be a part of things, and so I think that was huge. But I would say in my later life, when we went to Cambodia, I met a fellow named Sakom Hun, or Hun Sakom, actually. But Sakom was my age, and he was Khmer, but he had gotten out by way of the refugee camps and gotten to the States towards the end of the Khmer Rouge time, and this time of great sadness in Cambodia. And I met him, and he was preaching and running a school for young men from all over the little villages. They would come in and they would live there, and they provided a place for them to live, and they studied the Bible. And the idea was that then they would go back, and now it's even gotten more where it's a full training, like they train them how to work with hogs and whatever, so that they can go back and be self-supporting as they go back to the villages or go out to other villages. And his story, I think about in 1975, as those things were starting there. I was graduating high school. I was sitting in the auditorium of Harding Academy in Memphis, and I was sitting in chapel and going to my classes and singing in a chorus and having Bible class, and Sakom was being forced to climb palm trees and knock coconuts out. And if you didn't get to the top, and if you didn't knock coconuts out, you'd be shot.
Wow.
And to know that he got out of that and came to great and wonderful America, had a family, worked till he owned his own business, did an auto upholstery business, very successful, leader in the church in Texas, and he went back.
He went back to?
He went back because he knew the struggles of the people in Cambodia, and he knew they didn't know Jesus.
Mm.
And I mean, I think I get kind of teary-eyed. I get choked up a little bit when I think about. I always tell him he's my hero.
Mm.
He just that he was willing to make the sacrifice, knowing what he had come from and what he had been through. Starving, beating, just horrible things, being forced to fight in a war that he didn't want any part of.
Wow.
And then to say, no, I need to go back. These people need the Lord. I think impressed on me even more that I've done nothing, just to share.
Yeah.
I've given up nothing to share. And he gave it all up. And it just, I don't know, that I count Sakom as a friend, a brother, a hero, and a model for my life.
And I think stories like that you just told helps us remind us how we take things so for granted here in the States, and with the freedoms we have and the liberties and the life we live, and how a man like this he's willing to go back to his home country to tell his people about Jesus. That's a powerful story, Paul. I appreciate you telling that. And that makes me want to just go do something right now and stop drinking coffee and let's go do something. You know? Tell us something about y'all's ministry and tell us how long you've been there. Give us a little understanding of what life is like on the mission field and what specifically God has given to you there in Portugal.
We arrived in Portugal on the 30th of January. We actually got to Tavira, the town we live down in the south, on February the 1st. So we've been here.
Really new.
Yeah,
Mission field.
yeah. You know, we had been here a couple of times on short trips, just enjoying. We love Portugal, but we came not just like on vacation. It was kind of looking and seeing, is this the place we would want to live? And then we had opportunity to come back for 6 months because of a minister that we met on our second trip. He and his wife were part of an organization out of Waco, Texas, Antioch International Church, I think. And he was here kind of serving missionaries from that church all across Europe and North Africa. And they'd been here for at that point, 10 years. And what they do is when you've been in the field for 5 years, they bring you back for 6 months. And you just kind of go through sort of a debrief, but there's, you know, just some, just take a breath, you know, kind of recharge and all that goes on with that. So they said, look, we got to be gone. After we had met and talked, we got back to the States. And he said, Jenny and I talked, we would love for you guys to think about maybe coming and house sitting, dog sitting for 6 months. What do you think? Because they knew we were looking to move. And so we said, yeah, that, you know, after some prayer and talking about it, we decided that we wanted to do that. And so January of 2000, we came to 2020. I should have gotten regular coffee. I kept saying 2007, right? 2020, we came and spent 6 months. Met some wonderful people. They had a house church that met there in their home. So, you know, we really became very close with the kind of an international group. And so towards the end of that, we visited here in the Algarve, visited in the south, and we just said, we really like it here. It's warmer, you know, it still gets cool, but it's not as damp and cold as where we were. It reminded us a lot of like Southern California, where we had lived and loved the weather. And so we came here, came to Tavira, and really, you know, it was kind of mid-COVID, so there was nothing much you could do. I mean, really, other than get out to go to the supermarket, there was nothing you could do. You could go to restaurants and get carry out, but, you know, that was the extent of it. And so we spent a lot of time in an apartment and then getting out probably illegally and just kind of driving around. You know, if anyone asked, we were always on the way to the supermarket. And then I guess we started thinking about what we wanted to do. So in May, we started looking for a place that would fit. Well, I'll come back. And so we found this place. It was a godsend. It hadn't been available when we first started working. I was looking, there was a restaurant in here and they had closed up. They actually moved to a better location, which freed this space up. Somebody else, I think, was, as best I can understand, my landlord and I do not have a common language. And so, but as best I understand, there was someone else that wanted to move in here, and evidently that fell through. And just about that time, I was able to get in touch with him, and I mean, it was done. This was going to be, so July the 1st, or June the 1st is when we took possession and started getting things ready. July 1st, we officially opened. And then
Yeah, I
that would
remember.
have been the first.
Remember when we first talked that I had just come on staff here, and I think you had just opened up when we.
Yeah, I think July 11th, we had the first worship service here, which we hadn't planned. We thought at some point we would do that. It would probably be in our home, but we just went ahead, and then we would move here, but we went ahead and started here. And really, this whole idea of a Vita Plena came from the fall of 2020. I don't even know when, but sometime during the fall. And I think when I say fall, that could be, be an academician. I think of semesters. So it could be anywhere from September to December. So it was in the fall of 2020. There was kind of a highlight during the service, the FCC service, about Jim Barnes, and I forget his wife's name, but they have this open doors bookstore, shop, coffee, whatever in Prague.
Czech Republic, right? Yeah, in Prague.
Yeah, and it was funny because up to that point, all we knew was that we were going to retire in Portugal, and really hadn't thought much beyond that. I mean, we had talked about probably we would end up, having a house church, because we know there's just, especially in English, there in our town, there are probably a couple of Portuguese Protestant churches, but nothing in English. And so all of a sudden, I said, I knew where I was going to retire. And then all of a sudden, because of that, God just really opened that up as an idea for what I would do. And it was sometime later that week, I just mentioned to Deb, this sounds really interesting. We could do this.
And that's when I said, I can't believe you even said that, because I had the exact same thought right after I had seen it, after I'd seen the video. And so I was excited.
Yeah. And so like I said, I felt like the timing of it, that it was shared, at church, and it just, I have said, it's books and faith, two things that we both like, enjoy, it just kind of combines that. And so we just started then, and I'm still hopeful that once, maybe summer, spring, as things hopefully calm down a little bit with COVID, after the winter time, we want to go to Prague, and I want to just sit down. And there's also, under that same umbrella organization, there's one in Berlin too, but or similar one. But we kind of decided to do the slim down version. But I want to go talk to the Barnes and just kind of find out more about what they do and how they do, because we're kind of flying by the seat of our pants.
I think that's what a lot of missions is. You're just trying to figure out as you go, and the Holy Spirit just leads, and just.
There's a lot of people that don't understand why we're here, and so they come in very, very curious, and they ask, what is it that you do?
Well, we'd have a lot of tourists. I mean, we're right next to this beautiful shop. They sell pottery and dishes and things.
Right.
Across is a trinket store, souvenir shop. There's a little restaurant bar kind of diagonally there.
Right.
And then it's all restaurants down. We're kind of on an alleyway, basically, but it's heavily traveled alleyway. And so people, would see the sign, and we've got the sandwich board out front, and got scripture on it, and it says we've got Bible study on Sundays at 5 p.m. and cross in the logo. And so people would just come in and go, what are you guys doing? And so it's been fun, because some people are like, oh, okay, and leave quickly. But then there are those that just, even some, you know, that stay and want to talk and they're just so excited, even they don't live here, even though they don't live here, they're excited. And, you know, they're just, you know, they're glad that somebody is here and there's something going on where, you know, God's name is being raised up.
That is exciting to hear. And it's all happening in a very short amount of time, but God's doing his work. And he's using you all there. Tell us some things that we could pray for. What are some of the challenges that you faced while you've been there, and how have those challenges made you stronger? What have you learned from them? You know, how has those difficulties helped you in your walk with God?
Well, I'll talk a little bit. Give me a break. I think I was not expecting this, but I think as a Christian, I have lived my life so sheltered among, you know, I've always, you know, had my Christian church friends, and even in Tennessee, you know, everybody at school was a Christian, and so we all shared our faith and shared our beliefs, but here it's so global, and you have so many from so many different countries, and, you know, Mozambique and South Africa, and who else do we have from our church? Nepal.
Wow.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people from the UK in this area, so that's why I said it. Like, of course, the Brits. I mean, we're happy to have good friends that are British.
British people are good. We like British people.
Yeah. Let me make that clear.
But then you also have the people that come in, and they have such different views from what crazy, out in left field, things I have never heard of in my life. And it's just, I told Paul, I said, wow, I said, this has really been an eye opener for me. You know, some of these ideas that I just thought, how do they get this? You know, where does it come from? And yeah, so that's been a challenge for me, and certainly for Paul.
That's part of the whole ministry, is just
Yeah,
and have people come from different backgrounds and walks.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I talked to a fellow who says he's not Buddhist, but I mean Hindu, but he says he's just into yoga very deeply. But he is eaten up with, if you will, you know, Hinduism. But he came from a Christian background, and he's interested in talking. So we had a great conversation one morning, and, you know, on the Christian spectrum, he's out there, but he's interested in talking and sharing. He wants to hear. So, you know, that one's easy.
Right.
You know, you want to talk to a guy that wants to talk.
I would imagine all these things you're talking about and all these conversations you're having, you also have to play in that you're dealing with multiple cultures, you know, that some of them you may not fully understand, or maybe you're learning. I'm just assuming that.
Yeah, we've had, one of the things that we did, well, not going to cut you off, but let me add something that I would say another thing to pray for, not just the wisdom to know what to say, the courage to say what needs to be said, and the wisdom to know when to say it, but also to be creative, if you will, in ways that we can reach our community. You know, our Portuguese, to say it's limited would really be humorous. You can see non-existent from here, unless I'm going to the market. I can't. Yeah, I do well at the market. I do well at the market, so I can talk to anybody that comes in about, you know, grapefruits and peaches or whatever. But so we're dealing with English-speaking people for the most part right now, either as a first or a second or a third language, whatever. So we, you know, it's just trying to decide what is, you know, the best way to reach out to those folks and let them know we're here. You know, I went out. We had an event that I had heard about a friend of mine who came from the US to Austria to the church there, asked him to come over to help them minister to all the refugees that have been coming in.
Yes.
And they had a guy from somewhere, I think in Eastern Europe, maybe, I'm not sure, that came to Austria and was working with them, something that they had been doing. And basically, they have a coffee shop that's in the area where a lot of these refugees are living. And they were having these sessions on what is Christianity. Just a small group. They were using the Christians that were living in the refugee camps or in these neighborhoods to invite, these folks to come and just have a conversation about what is Christianity. I thought, well, here, that might almost be an insult. I don't know, because most people here are at least nominally Christian.
Mm-hmm.
They're Catholic, but they would say they're Christian. And so I thought, well, that seems to be working. So we decided we would do, who is Jesus? We thought that's something people either know or they don't know, but they would come. And so we just advertised it as a conversation about who is Jesus. That we'll have some light refreshments. Come in, we're going to chat. We'll do it on a Tuesday evening. And we had, some of our church folks came. And then we had 2 ladies from the community that came. And that really seemed to work, because I think they viewed it. We didn't say, come to church with us. We said, hey, we're going to have a conversation.
Yeah.
And so we just went through and we talked about, kind of the different elements of Jesus, and tried to touch on things. One of the young ladies is grew up Muslim. She's really not practicing Muslim now, but she's interested. That's why she wanted to come. She goes, I don't know anything about Jesus. I want to come. And I said, then this is where you need to come, because that's what we're going to talk about.
There you go.
And
Awesome.
and so I tried to work in there some of the things about Jesus that he's more than just a prophet or philosopher, which is what she knows him as, and kind of cover that. And we had another lady who I think probably may have grown up going to church, but kind of got some bizarre things that she's been told about the Old Testament, and but they're both interested. Debbie's going and walking with her during the day now because she wants to get out and walk, and Debbie was walking, so they go and walk and spend time together. And the other, young ladies, comes by. She works at a shop nearby here. So things that we can do to get out and talk, because when I went out one day, just tried to kind of hand out a little leaflet and say, hey, come and go, come and learn or come and talk. And I don't know, that's probably not even acceptable in the US anymore, but that was, people didn't want to talk to me, didn't want to even it was just, that was not the good way to do it. And so we got to figure out what are some other ways that we can attract people in. And this past week was was the best week we've had, and it's just been word of mouth.
That's awesome.
People
I think
coming
you touched on something that is very important in ministry, very important in missions. I know my wife and I, the experience that we had in Germany, you have to build relationships. You have to get to know people. You have to have those conversations, and it takes time. And Europe is not an easy place. And you've kind of already spoke into that, but maybe give a little more ideas of what it's like to talk with Europeans, and especially on religious topics and things. And it's kind of cold to it, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. Portugal's a Catholic country, and whether or not they go to mass or not, they're going to tell you they are Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
It's it's not their race. It's not like maybe being, a Hebrew or being Jewish, and, it's not quite tied, but it's really close to that. And it's just, I think there's this I don't know if loyalty is the best word. That's the best word I have to use to that, where they just don't necessarily want to talk.
They're a little more reserved when you first meet them. And then as you like you said, as it, taking time with them and on a day-to-day basis, that helps.
I think one of the things, I don't know if this is necessarily what you were saying, but talking about with Europeans, in Portugal, I found them to be very warm and welcoming.
That's good.
For the most part. It's funny, sometimes I'll say that and people will, they look at me and they say, what? And I don't know what their experience has been, but I would say for the most part, they've been very pleasant, very kind, because if it's language, other than if you're dealing with government stuff, and that's just, they're not going to be kind because they're government, but
right.
They're very welcoming, very warm, very receptive, other than religion. That's kind of a shutdown topic. And I don't know, I haven't talked to folks. I mean, I don't know, is that if I were not a foreigner, would that be different? But I think what that does is that just stresses all the more the need for the relationships,
Right.
to let them know, we don't bite.
Right.
Yeah, you're not handling snakes or doing anything weird.
Right. We do come from East Tennessee, but no, we don't. We're not doing that.
We have some questions that were sent in by our staff members here at First Christian Church. Some of these questions you've already answered, so we don't have to repeat some of those things, but I thought I'd go down through some of these things. One question that a staff member asked was, I think I know the answer to this, do you miss your family? And how often are you able to stay in touch with them? How do you stay in touch with them and stay involved?
Yeah, that's another thing to pray about, because I am missing my family. I'm missing, the family in Atlanta, my 3 grandbabies. Of course, we do FaceTime, at least every weekend, maybe sometimes more than that. But it's still not the same as hugging on them, loving on them,
Right.
Running around the house, playing hide and seek or whatever, it's different, very different. But we were supposed to be home November 23rd, this week, tomorrow was our flight.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we were supposed to fly home on the 23rd for the Thanksgiving and Christmas holidays. And the flight got canceled.
Wow.
We don't even know why. Lufthansa airline canceled the flight and did not rebook us.
Got a girl throw Lufthansa under the bus.
Anyway, so that's disappointing, but we've rebooked for February, so I have something to look forward to. But it's tough. It's tough even with FaceTime.
And you talk to your mom and dad.
I do quite a bit.
Almost daily.
Yeah.
And your sister pretty often.
Right.
I talk to I don't talk to all of my family members. I talk to my sister. In fact, I meant to do that today, and I completely forgot. Try to work out times and make that happen. But we talk, I don't know, once a month or something. And
good. And it's great that we have technology to do that. But like you said, it's not like you said, Debbie, it's not the same as being able to wrap your arms around them, play with them, kiss them and hold them. And
that's right.
But I think about we had a minister in California that had been a missionary to Kenya, and he talked about when they were there for like 9 years, but it was way back, and it's like pre-internet, pre-email. But then when that helped, but he said you would write a letter and you would send it. It would take 3 weeks to get to the States, and then by the time they responded or whatever, it's a month to a month and a half. But in correspondence across, and phone calls were just couldn't happen. It was just too expensive.
Right.
And then he said, when you started being able to send emails, they thought that was the best thing in the world. And now, I mean, here we are sitting talking in real time. I think it's a blessing that folks have that. I can't imagine missionaries or folks doing it, that what it was like back in the day.
Back in the day, yeah. I think that a lot too. We're very blessed and to live in a technological world. Another question that somebody asked that might go along with what you guys were just sharing now is what has been your greatest discouragement while you've been here, about there in Portugal? And then along the same lines, what gives you hope? What gives you hope?
I think what gives me hope, I think we've touched a little bit about the discouragement. But what gives me hope is that our numbers are increasing, and we now have like an 8 to 10, in our group on Sundays, and that's just very exciting for me. And like Paul said, that more and more people are coming to visit, and so and I just, and that's something else that you can pray for, is just pray for visitors to come see us, to come talk, to feel welcome. I pray about that. And then I remember one day I just, I talked to God about it for such a long time, and I prayed and prayed about it. And that day we had 2 visitors. No, that was 4 visitor day. Anyway, I was astounded, and I thanked him. I said, thank you, thank you, thank you. So yeah.
Good to see those little things that God brings along there.
Yeah.
And it's been great because we're getting, some of them are folks in our little church, are inviting others.
Yes.
and then they're coming.
Awesome.
To me, I would say, even what I said earlier, it was irritating at the time. We've laughed and talked about it. It's helped us kind of focus on some things that we need to deal with. So I mean, it all has a purpose. And even though that was a frustration, there's no way close that I would say that this has been a frustrating experience. I mean, it's not even close to that. It's just been so positive. The reception, just our neighbors here in for Vida Plena, our neighbors at our house. The fact that we literally have a 2-minute walk from our front door to here. And, so it's easy coming and going. And
not a long commute. That's a pretty decent commute.
Yeah. And, so it's easy to come down here. Told a lady the other day, or guy the other day, he had sent me a message. He's a bartender at the little restaurant and bar across the way. And I just got this message all of a sudden. He said, "Are you the person that's in charge of the Bible bookstore across from Santa Lucia Bar?" And I said, "Yes, I am. I have no idea. This is from Victor. I don't know." And he said, I want to come see you." And I said, "Victor, anytime." I said, I told him the hours we were open. I said, "I'm always here then, but I can be here anytime." I said, "You just tell me when you want to come, and we could sit, because that's easy. And I can just walk down here." And he just said, I've just been really down. I've just been searching, trying to find some answers. And I keep thinking maybe Jesus is the answer."
Oh, wow.
So I'm like, okay, well, we can talk about that. And I said, "That's exactly why I'm here." And so we had a time set up. He didn't show up. So he and I have been trying to reschedule now. But, so that, I mean, wow, just what a rush that is, that somebody I didn't even talk to, I didn't even know existed. And, he got to thinking about it, and he saw, hey, here's something going on, and I want to talk about it. I had a lady that came in last week that 2 of the members of our church had told her about the shop, and it said, "Hey, when you're out, drop by." She's 80 years old. She said, "I don't get out much." But on Monday, there was a man that came, and he was going to be laying some tile on her patio, and he came just to kind of measure and get her to approve the tiles and everything. And so he did that, and he was going to go back, and he was talking about how busy, and she said, look, you just, nothing is in a rush. You need to take your time, enjoy life. You know, she's from Mozambique, and she said, enjoy life and sit down. Let me make you some tea. He said, okay, you're right. So he sat down, or she made him tea. He sat down, had a stroke, had a heart attack, and died.
Wow.
And she came in on Wednesday and said, I need to talk to someone. And she said, Peter and Margarita said that your shop is here and I should come by and visit, and I want to talk. She's a Christian. She said, I can't talk to my son. Her son came home and he's come back to live with her, and he tried to resuscitate the guy. And she said, but I can't talk to him about this. He's dealing with it in his own way, and he won't talk. He doesn't want to talk. Mm-hmm. And so we just spent time talking about life and death. And yeah, but I mean, you know, it was just, she left here, and I just felt like, okay, God led her here. I'm so glad I was here. I'm glad we were open. I'm glad there was a place for her to go and just talk about her fears and what that did to her. And then, as Deb said, then Sunday she came walking in early. She was way early, I mean, which was fine, but she came in and we chatted while I was setting things up. And so, you know, that's those praise God moments that so far outweighs any frustration. I'm embarrassed to say I have a frustration.
Yeah, that's exciting. It really is. A few more quick questions that some folks have sent in. What's the biggest difference between Portugal and the US? We know that they have a different language, obviously, but what have you experienced that's the biggest difference between the two countries?
Everything is done much more slowly here. So that's been, you know, not a frustration, but you know, at times it has been. You know, if someone says they're going to come, it won't happen for another week.
Oh, wow.
You just never.
You know, it's very laid back, very, you know, even though we're not on the Mediterranean, from what people have told me, it's very Mediterranean. Mm-hmm. You know, it's which I love. You know, I'm a good Southern boy, so I like a slow-paced life. Yeah. And I have it in spades here.
That's cool. What is something that you miss being the Tennessee boy? What are some of the things you miss about being in East Tennessee?
Moon pies and goo clusters. No, I'm just kidding.
Mexican food.
Mexican food.
I didn't do what? Moon pies and what? I don't.
Goo clusters.
Goo clusters?
Dude.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Some of those Tennessee folks there need to take you and treat you to a goo cluster.
There's stuff I gotta learn.
It's made right there in Tennessee.
I gotta try it. Now you got me thinking, curious.
Better than the moon pies, I'll tell you that. Wow. Mexican food. You guys have too many Mexican restaurants in Greene County.
That's true.
You should send a few.
That's the truth.
To us. Man, I moved there and never seen so many Mexican restaurants on this side or that side of the border, I don't think. And I lived in California. And we have to go to another town to find Mexican. Wow. And we have to go to another country. I don't even know where we would go to find Thai food. There are no Thai restaurants in our part of the country. So
what's the one thing that you appreciate the most about Portugal that you just love?
Weather. The weather is incredible.
The weather.
I love the weather. I actually got up for sunrise walks for about 3 weeks, and then it turned cold. But the weather is just amazing. I love it.
That's cool.
For me, it's I mean, the weather's nice. I mean, we have 300 days of sunshine, so it's
Wow.
really nice. I think it's just, you know, this is such a different area than anywhere I've ever lived geographically. And it's just kind of the beauty of the hills that are around and the ocean. And it's a very beautiful country as a whole. I mean, nothing is, you know, I mean, there are some mountains, or there is a mountain, I think, kind of up in the central part, but nothing like, you know, living right there next to the mountains. But it's just very, very diverse, just a very beautiful place. And it's, you know, to me, that's part of it, is it's just comfortable. It's a very comfortable place.
That's cool. That's cool. Well, two quick questions. One may not be so quick because it may be a lot. And this is something that all missionaries face. My wife and I faced it in Germany. We kind of denied it. We thought, nah, this is going to be an issue for us. But culture shock. What's the most difficult culture shock things that you've experienced? And have you been able to adapt somewhat decently with that, or do you still have a lot of bouts of homesickness?
I mean, maybe it's because I grew up military. I don't know, but I mean, you know, it hasn't been culture shock. I wouldn't even say that we had that.
Well, not this go round. I mean, she moved every 2 or 3 years of her life, so.
It's.
Well, you know.
It hasn't been.
That's what I was going to say. This go around, not so much. I think, you know, when we were here for the 6 months last year, there were some things, but then even, you know, because of COVID, we weren't out a great deal. I don't know that we've experienced that. I mean, we've had our bouts, I think, with homesickness, and that's just been family. You know, there are times that it's a convenience issue. I just miss the convenience of, if I could just go to Walmart and, you know, or if I could just go to Lowe's, wow, you know, and not have to go to 5 different places to buy 2 things, you know, that, you know, those are the things that's kind of a, even though we knew that, it's still, you know, when you need one thing and, you know, I get out and I walk to the closest hardware store and then they don't have it. And then I, you know, keep walking and walking. Finally, I get in the car and drive to the bigger one. And, you know, it didn't, you know, so I'm gonna have to wait because I've got to go to our equivalent of Lowe's, which is not in our town. And that, you know, that's the kind of those kinds of things that I'm just used to conveniences that.
I have sympathy and empathy and all those other things that you can say, because I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Same thing. The same thing. Last question.
Debbie sent me, I tell you this, Debbie sent me with a grocery list for some things for Thanksgiving. So she sends me to the supermarket in a non-Thanksgiving country, obviously. Well, right. A non-Thanksgiving holiday country. And she's wanting sage, and she's wanting, Pepperidge Farm stuffing mix. She's wanting canned pumpkin. Oh yeah, cranberry sauce. Just came home and said, look, you just quit. So, but we found ways around all of that. Right. But
Thanksgiving dinner ought to be.
What was that?
I said Thanksgiving dinner ought to be interesting.
Yeah, well, we'll be praying that you can have a successful Thanksgiving.
We will. We will.
But on that note, that was the last question that somebody sent in, was about the holidays. With Christmas coming up around the corner, what kind of special traditions do the Portuguese have, and is this something that you've learned and kind of enjoyed?
I don't know about Christmas. We were here, one of the trips we were here over Christmas, and sadly found out that everything closes for Christmas.
Oh, wow.
And so we walked a lot just trying to find a place to have Christmas lunch. And then it went to just finding lunch. We gave up on a Christmas lunch. We wanted just lunch. And that became quite difficult. So I don't know yet about their holidays. They have started decorating, just like in the US, they've started decorating already, which, they got going really the 1st of November, just about. Some things started going up, but I don't know yet.
Well, you got a time to learn all that stuff, and but I have, and I think everybody that's watching this has enjoyed getting to know you guys more. I hope that some of our new FCCers will take the opportunity to tune into this. But we want you guys to know that all of us here, from the staff to the members, we all love you guys. We're so thankful for your dedication, your sacrifice of moving to Portugal and to help Portuguese find and follow Jesus. And that's what we're trying to do here in Greenville, help people find and follow Jesus. And so we're so thankful that you're doing it there across the ocean. And
I just pray we can do a fraction of the good job that FCC does in Greene County.
Well, we love you guys. We appreciate you. We're behind you, and we're praying for you. And I know it's getting late, so we're going to let you go. And
thanks, Bob. I appreciate it.
Have a happy Thanksgiving. Hopefully there'll be great success with the meal. And
thank you.
And if not, well, you have good laughs, right?
That's right. There'll be stories.
Well, we love you guys. Have a great
Have a great evening.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.